right. Hello and welcome to another episode of our Local Time Machine Thursday. Today I have the pleasure to talk to Sander Münster, who is co-initiator of the project Jena4D. Sander, hello and thank you for taking the time. Before we dive into the question, I would suggest I introduce you quickly to our audience and just let them know who you are. So you are not only our lead strategist at the Time Machine Project Scouting Service, but you are assistant professor at the Friedrich Schiller University in Jena, and you head the media design and production department at the Media Center of the Technical University in Dresden. You are also as I already said, the co-initiator of this project Jena4D, together with your colleague Andreas Christoph, from the Thuringian University and State Library in Jena. Is that right? All right.
Fine.
Good. So I would say let's start at the beginnings. Maybe you can tell us a bit about the origin of your idea for this Jena4D project.
My pleasure. So Jena4D is by origins going, I would say, very much back in time also. So it started maybe in 2015, 2016 with some first attempts how to better communicate large-scale photo repositories and make large-scale photo repositories available for audiences. And that means not only scholarly audiences, so researchers dealing with images in art history or architectural history research, but also how to enabling and opens this up to a public, and therefore also enabling citizens to better interact, to better get an idea and view about history and heritage.
I see. So is that, to put it in a nutshell, what would you say is the key aim of this Jena4D? Is it to connect with citizens on the history of the city?
The idea which is guiding this Jena4D project at this moment is the question, how could we interact with citizens by digital means? At the one hand, in order to enabling citizens to trade in, to bring in their personal experiences, their personal histories, also their media, their sources they have collected into such a joint knowledge repository, but also vice versa, how to engage, how to interact with those 4D media, with those 4D knowledge information, for instance, with regards to virtual city tours, with regards to having 3D and 4D experiences of the historical city and its transformation.
Okay, and what kind of, when you say you want to involve the citizens and make them familiar also with these technologies, what kind of activities do you have planned? How are you practically planning to involve the citizens of Jena?
It's a good question. And in our case, I would say two different strands of relevance. At the one hand, it's about how to, or what's about enabling people to include their personal memories. At the one hand, photographs, historical photographs, books in their wardrobes and so on, and digitize those historical photos and also include it in such a joint knowledge base. But secondly, also how to trade in the personal experiences, the stories related to specific places in the city, and so on and so on. A second strand is not only to focus on citizens via contests in our case. So we are cooperating with local newspapers in order to setting up these contests, engaging people, gamifying this to contribute their historical memories and media. But the second strand is also to engage with pupils, with schools. And the idea is, what if pupils, if kids could describe their city view, also maybe the locations which are of importance for them, for other kids. And that is where we are cooperating with one local school in order to engaging those school classes in describing and creating virtual city tours for our kids and describing the city from their view, and also guiding our kids through the city to the places of relevance for children.
Wow, I mean, that sounds very interesting. You're making the connection between the memories maybe elderly citizens have from the city when they provide their archive material. And then you combine it with students, the younger generation, the generation of the future, and see how they view the city. So that's a very interesting combination of perspectives. But how can I imagine, like, really practically these contests that you mentioned? How are you going to digitize private collections? Are you going to provide a scanner, or how is this going to work? Can you share any information on that already?
My pleasure. So, of course, we all have our scanners at the moment in our hands in most cases, our smartphones. And what we are already working on is to using and implementing these 3D, 4D technologies in browser-based applications, and developing this kind of software applications in a way that it enables to take some a photo scanning or a photography of the historical photo by smartphone. In our case, this is combined to the question for not only have to scan the digitized image, but also to answer the question, where in the city was this depicted building, event, whatever, located? And that is something where we currently develop a rephoto application or rephoto layer in this 3D and 4D applications, which enables people not only to digitize in the historical photos, but to photographing the situation again, and therefore delivering the necessary meta information about the positions, locations, orientations where this historical image was taken. On the other hand, the interesting point is how to make this kind of knowledge base accessible. And we are working on 4D applications, which enables you in the smartphone, precisely to say, in the browser of your smartphone, to have a view of the historical city, and also seeing the 3D, or let's rather say the 4D buildings depicted there on your mobile device, based on your specific location. So the idea is to provide a visitor on the mobile device. So you will view the same image on your mobile smartphone in the browser. So you just have to type in the URL of the website and can access this. And the interesting point here is that this is not only a 3D model of the historical city of Jena in that case, but that is something which is time dependent. So if I switch, for instance, to the 2000s here, the scenery is changing. And of course, I'm looking at the current state here. What is also interesting here is that it is not only, I would say, the 3D or 4D view of the historical city, but also the access to several information. So if I click, for instance, here, then I receive some information about this historical setting here and what is the background of this memorial here. And also, of course, it's something which is, for instance, where I could go to another site and have a look here. So just 1 minute. So just to showcasing it to you that it is really interactive. And again, you are having the opportunity to switching in time and seeing also the historical view of Jena. In case you would do this on your mobile devices, then it's a chance, of course, that you are, I see that maybe, in case you are doing this on your mobile device, you see chance also to have this location where you are depending on your current GPS location. So that means that this information is highly varying on depending on where you are standing in the city, how you are orienting your device, and so on and so on.
So it's very adaptive to where you are located in the city.
Exactly. So the idea is that you could use this application not only in every place in the city, but on every place worldwide. And of course, so this kind of information environment for the information environment is created highly depending on where you are located, how you are, where you are standing on, and for instance, the access to Wikipedia, the connection to Wikipedia articles about the specific historical buildings and cultural heritage here. So that is something which is already working worldwide. Also, to having a basic set of buildings and so on, that is also working worldwide at this moment. And let me switch to another location, because in Dresden we have maybe something which is more interesting to view, and that means that also those buildings here are created from ground plots in some cases, but specifically that those, I would say, facades are projected images. And that means that we are directly connecting to the image library of the German digital library of the German Photothek. And depending on my timestamp, so depending on in which time I am, I'm changing, or those views are changing very much. You see, it's not working perfectly at the moment, so that is something we are currently working on, but you already have at least, I would say, a more or less matching orientation, and again, the access also to additional information, for instance, taken from the Wikipedia. So I have to confess, I also used it in sometimes when being on a journey, when traveling, and I want to learn something about my surroundings. So what building is that? So I'm at the moment sometimes using often using our application here in order to retrieving this information.
Yeah, so it comes in very handy when you're traveling. Yes. Excellent. Thank you for this. Thank you for this demonstration.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Sounds great. And with this data, how are you planning to integrate this data into or your data sets that you're going to generate into already existing databases? What are your plans?
That's an important question. And in most cases, it's a question for how to avoiding to build another silo. That means another database, whatever, just duplicating already extant information. In our case, that means that our approach is as much as possible, not to having own databases, but to directly connecting to databases, storing, for instance, building information, or also street grid information, or digital elevation models, and of course the historical photographs. And that is something where with those 3D and 4D applications, I would say at the one hand directly an upload will be done in the databases of the Thuringian University and State Library, and of course further on to Europeana, for instance, or the digital German library. But vice versa, also where the information or these images are not only stored in the local database, but retrieved also from those data providers, or from these data hosts as much as possible.
Okay, I see. Maybe one last question, because that's also always of interest. How is your project being funded, and what's the starting? Well, it's just started, if I understood correctly, and how long is the duration of the project?
Good question. And in our case, we are really happy about that this kind of project is a project not only for technology development, but it's a project for, I would say, cultural engagement. And this is funded in that case via the Cultural Foundation of the Federal of Germany. And we are happy to have a funding duration until the end of this year. Also, we are happy that most of the technological developments has already been made, and also most of the connections has been at least prototyped more earlier. So we are optimistic that we will be ready to work on all, so that we could achieve the objectives of the project as expected.
Brilliant. Thank you. It sounds like a very interesting project. We wish you a lot of success with it. And of course, we will keep our community posted on the progress and share what you're doing. Is there anything else you want our community to know about the project, or?
I think that's fine.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for giving us this overview and introduction. And yes, so let's leave it at that, as you said. And thank you very much for taking the time to answer a few questions, introduce your project. Yeah, I'd say bye-bye for now.
My pleasure and many thanks, and bye-bye for now. Happy to report, of course, about the progress of our project.
So we will. All right, bye.
Okay, bye.